Hello, Star Wars Galaxy here, players. This is HK858. I'm going to talk to you today about a couple of characters I'd like to see added in, or at least two versions of one character. Haha. Um, and yes, you can see him on the screen as Kreia and Darth Traya, and I'll talk to you about why I would say that in a minute. I would post this on the blogs, but for some reason I'm having issues getting logged in because every time I try logging into the blogs on Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, or not the blogs, the forums. I don't know what I'm talking about. I have an issue where I can't log in. And it seems like it keeps trying to get me to try to create an account or something, and I don't get it. So yeah, I'm going to talk to you today about adding Kreia and Darth Traya into the game. And it would make a really interesting two characters. Now, if you really pay attention to the Star Wars Legends of KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic 2, both Kreia, well, they're both the same person, just same body, different name. Kreia, Darth Traya, they are both in a sense, excuse me, they're both in a sense not a Jedi or they're not considered a Jedi or a Sith. They are just kind of in the middle ground. I do personally, I do say Traya and Kreia, since they're the same, they're basically a darker version of the Bendu in a sense from Rebels, but a little more darker because she hates the Force because everyone should learn to get better on their own. Like if you pay attention to one of the storyline, or you pay attention to KOTOR 2, you get off on Nar Shaddaa. There's this guy that you can only choose one or the other. You can't choose both, which is kind of a forced choice. So you can either choose to give him he asks you for credits. If you could spare like 5 credits, you can choose to give it to him or not. And if you give it to him, well, Kreia will discipline you both ways. If you give it to him, Kreia will say, hey, you shouldn't have done that because, one, that could have been like for example, a mass murderer or some criminal so that they can thrive even further out. Or it would also paint a target on his head, excuse me, because of the fact of, he has now some credits. Instead of working to try to work out a situation on his own. And if you choose the dark side, you threaten him, and that could also ripple into the fact of, oh, hey, I'm going to do the same thing and start threatening other people. So she disciplines you both because you should have just, left him alone. Said, sorry, I can't spare any money. And honestly, one thing, if they actually had more choices, I would have given him like, okay, well, we can just give the guy advice, give him some thoughts, and he could choose to take that advice or just leave it. But, and I do have a couple of videos I will link in the description below, excuse me, that I've watched about kind of like how Kreia thinks. There's 2 videos from 2 YouTubers. I'll just link them in the description below if you're curious about that. But going back to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, I would like to say that Kreia and Darth Traya would bring a unique ability to the game. I was thinking about this the night before, and I think, yes, it would be really cool to see them. So, they both, if you play KOTOR 2, you are kind of like soul-linked or force-linked, or, you're linked through the Force. And whatever affects one affects the another character, affects the player, or the player, whatever the player buffs, the dang, what's it called? The Kreia, she gets that same buff too if she's with you in the party. And I think that's kind of cool. And I'm like, that could be a cool ability thrown into Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, where if you actually say buff yourself, like if you're able to, because my thinking on this, when she first comes in, it either chooses randomly a non-droid character or a Jedi only kind of character, something of that, opposite for the Darth Traya version. because they don't have those tags, Jedi or Sith. They could just be a blank Force user like Ahsoka Fulcrum. And they just be light side, dark side, and all that. But like, say for example, when I talk about Kreia or Traya, so if I'm talking about Kreia, just imagine the similar ability, similar unique ability for the dark side and the dark side characters. So this would make kind of a unique thing. So say for example, say that Kreia is attached to Ahsoka Fulcrum. Ahsoka Fulcrum does her meditate ability where she gets a bunch of buffs. All those same buffs would go straight to Kreia. And I'm sure the developers would find a nice way to work that out. Obviously, Taunt you wouldn't do the same with the Taunt. Kind of like Ahsoka Fulcrum doesn't get. But like, say for example, I know negative status effects, because in the game, Kreia gets her hand cut off and the player feels that for a while. And they could have it to where debuffs are applied the same, or debuffs are applied to one, but the other one loses like 5% health and 5% protection, or 10% health, 0 protection if there's no protection, or something of that matter. I know the developers would have to figure out the right numbers to work that, because they have those details, that program, the algorithms and all that. But in a way to where whatever affects positively and negatively on one character does the other, so that's kind of a bad thing. Now, one thing I wouldn't add into the game, which would be kind of a blowout, is the fact of, in the game, in KOTOR 2, Kreia talks about the fact that if she dies, the player could die too. Now, I wouldn't add that part into the game, because all Nihilus has to do is annihilate one or the other, and the other one goes down too. And that would just be a blowout. I did also think of this would be one of the first characters to do this, but between the two versions, excuse me, to where if Kreia is on the battlefield, Darth Traya cannot be on the battlefield, and vice versa. Because then you would get a crazy game where you'd have, like, say, Darth Nihilus, Darth Traya, Kreia, and then Chase, to where Baze isn't targeted, but Chirrut and Kreia is, and Darth Nihilus and Traya is, and that would be kind of a weird kind of team. And if they did decide to do the kill one, the other dies, all I have to do is kill two, and you're taking out two more with. So you heavily focus on Kreia and Darth Traya, take those guys out, they take out Nihilus and Chirrut, and then you all have this Baze left. And I don't see, and the reason why I would say not to have these two characters in the same battle is because, one, they work with light side or dark side, and it would just kind of clash. Even though in the arena, mixed teams always happen where they have dark and light. But like a Sith team, Nihilus led team, or a Maul led team using Chase, yeah, that happens a lot. But in this instance, if there's a similar type of effect, it might be a crazy new meta. But I don't know. I just see that those two can't be on the field at the same time. Unless the only time they can link to a opposite, like a light side link to a dark side, is if it was Kreia to Traya. That'd be kind of weird, because they probably won't get some of the buffs. But also with this linkage, other than buff sharing, I could also see like maybe a unique sharing. Not like the soul link, because that would make no sense, because it's soul linked twice. But I mean like the other unique, like Kreia would have a unique, and say she's linked to Ahsoka Fulcrum, she'd get that other unique to where she'd be immune to like damage over time or something like that. So I can see that kind of sharing. It would make quite an interesting battle. And if there's two uniques, it would randomly pick one of them, something of that nature. Or it would just be locked to a certain thing. Also, they would get a new buff symbol at the top of their head that would be locked out, where it can't be dispelled. Unless that one character dies, and then maybe... But like I said, this is kind of an interesting thought on having this character in the game. Because she's not really a Sith or a Jedi. she was exiled from both in a sense, so it makes sense for her to not. She would be a cool, unique light side, dark side, having two forms, a light side and a dark side form. However, she would not be tagged Sith or Jedi because we already have quite a few good Sith and a ton of Jedi. So she would be kind of this same as Ahsoka Fulcrum, where she would not have that tag, but she would be able to work with and link to a Jedi or Sith. And that linkage could, and I will say the linkage should be to a non-droid being, or to make it a little more interesting, to a non-Force user. So say, like, Kreia can only link to Jedi and Ahsoka Fulcrum, unless they don't want Ahsoka Fulcrum linked, and that would make sense. Or they add and then again, Force user tag could be added to Jedi and Sith. They just don't have to. They don't have to work with each other. They don't have to have any sort of Force users get this and this. It would just have a tag so that Kreia could probably work more efficiently. So if there are any other future characters that don't need that Jedi Sith tag, but they at least get that Force user tag, that would be kind of nice. So, but let me know what you guys think on this idea of Kreia and Darth Traya. Also can see the picture right now. Obviously not with the red lightsaber. That's just separating the two pictures. These are two great pictures of Kreia and Darth Traya. I could really see these versions being used. Like, Kreia would just have like a lightsaber hit. The light side form could even be a healer. And then the dark side form would be like some support or an attacker. And the dark side would have the triple lightsaber effect. I know there is a... Whoa, someone cosplaying it. I think this is kind of a light side, dark side-ish version. Let me look at that. It kind of looks more dark side. Because now I think about it, yeah. It's kind of a mix. But anyways, having it to where she has the triple lightsaber effect, so it'd be a kind of a unique character having a unique ability to where the triple lightsaber effect would be a single attack. All three would attack one person on the dark side one and have an AoE effect. And then light side would have a bash or maybe even a lightsaber throw. That would be kind of cool. Not similar to Calling Blade, but it doesn't work like Calling Blade, just a lightsaber throw. I guess you could say kind of similar to Jedi Guardians. But yeah, this is what I thought of this, and I was like, you know what? It'd be kind of cool to see this character added in. And so I thought, why not do a video on it, showcasing Kreia, Darth Traya, having her in the game. I really think it'd be great to see. But, let me know what you guys think on this idea. Would you like to see Kreia and Darth Traya added into the game? Similar to how I suggested. Obviously, I don't see her adding, at least the Darth Traya, even though she's a Darth, but not being a tagged Sith. Would you be okay with that? Because obviously she was exiled from both. She was exiled from the Jedi Council, then she was exiled because she was betrayed by Sion and Nihilus. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Then we can actually see the actual triumvirate in the game. Granted, we would just need to see Sion. One version of Sion, one version of Nihilus, and then there's two versions of Darth Traya or Kreia. And heck, I wouldn't mind even seeing a Darth Traya Atris, parentheses Atris version. But yeah, that's what I thought I'd, share. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.